A very good morning to my dear lecturers and my fellow friends. So today we will be presenting about the culture and also the interpersonal context of English language used in Malaysian primary school. This is under the course of TSLB3273 English Language Awareness. So our group members consist of three members, which is me, myself, Karjit, Shahira, and also Sophea. So the content will be about the culture context and also the interpersonal context. We will be explaining about the definition of both contexts, the elaboration, the examples that will be taken out from the textbook, and also the comparisons of both different years about culture context and also interpersonal context, and also the conclusion. So the first one will be the culture context. So culture context refers to the values, beliefs, attitudes, accepted attractions, and also general characteristics of a group of people. We often think of culture in terms of nationality or geography, but they are culture based on age, religions, education, ability, gender, ethnicity, incomes, and more. So, what is culture context? Culture context refers to ourselves. Like for instance, I'm Chinese, so I celebrate some celebrations such as Chinese New Year and also Mooncake Festival. But Malays celebrate their own celebrations, Indians celebrate their own celebrations. So this is what culture context about. Although we are different, but we do share our same similarities or maybe our general characteristics. And also it will share about our age, religions, educations, and more. So why does culture context matter? Because it makes learning more meaningful and also relevant. It also helps children to build identity and also confidence, promotes respect for diversity, support language learning, and also teach values and also social skills. It also ensures holistic growth by connecting lessons for real life, culture, and community. This is because if children have the examples of related to culture context, they will understand it more easier. Like for instance, if we have a topics about fruits, we could include Malaysian fruits such as rambutans and also durians, which makes children more understandable. So the first example will be from the Year 3 textbook of Unit 8, Where Were You Yesterday? So this is a topic about New York was in the 19th centuries compared to modern days. Based on these pictures, we could tell about how was New York City back in the 19th centuries. So the first picture we'll be talking about, this is a picture of New York City in the 19th centuries. So it was very different then. There weren't many shopping centers and also cinemas, but there were shops and also theaters. For the second picture, it will be talking about there weren't many cars back then, but there were lots of horses and also carriage. The streets of New York City weren't quiet. They were noisy and also full of people, just like today. So how does this topic relevant to our culture context to our young English learners? So there are three main points. The first two main points will be the global culture representation and also the language culture integrations. This is because it introduced New York City in the year 19,000, such as cinemas and also theaters. This helps children to understand that, back in 19th centuries, New York City already had this kind of entertainment such as cinemas and also theaters. It also exposed to a global culture context outside Malaysia, which broadens their world views and also awareness. This is because children could understand more and gain more new knowledge based on this topic. Like for instance, maybe they are born in Malaysia. So if they learn about how was New York City back in the 19th centuries, they will gain new knowledge about, there are some places called New York City and also how they were back in the 19th centuries. They will also learn other countries maybe like Brazil, Japan, China, and way more. So based on this activity below, what was there in New York City in the 19th centuries? Read activity 1 and take the correct. So this will represent how global culture representation comes to place, because it will explain what things do they have back in the 19th centuries. So below it also an exercise about New York City back in the year 19,000. So that's where language learning comes in, because based on the activity 2, it uses past tense such as weren't and also weren't. It will become meaningful because it is tied to cultural experience and historical comparisons. So this is because 19th century is already the past tense, so we use verb and words. This will let young English learners to understand that these aren't the modern days, these are past days already. It also encourages the sharing of individual cultural experience. This is because, based on the activity below, how was life in your town in the year 19,000? Ask and write take or call or wrong. Then say how. So maybe like the shopping centers, cars, buses, horse and carriage, quiet streets, and also noisy streets. So this encourages English learners to think about their own local context. So they could share their own hometowns. Like for instance, I'm from Malaysia. Maybe I don't have shopping malls back in the days. Maybe I had cars, had buses, and more. So this will help children to understand each other way more often, and also it also helps them to think about curiosity and also their gain new knowledge about it. So next we will have the interpersonal context. So what is interpersonal context? It is an interactional process between two people, either face-to-face or through mediated forms. It is the process of sharing knowledge, concept, and also emotions. So there are two types of interpersonal. The first one will be non-verbal, which include facial expression such as smile, maybe I show an angry face, and more. A posture, gesture, a tone, maybe like I raise my tone because I'm angry, I lower my tone because I'm sad. Touch, space, time use, and also more. The second one will be verbal, which includes synthetics, semantics, and also pragmatics. So why does interpersonal context matters to young English learners? So people and students who easily and effectively establish interpersonal relations are better able to cope with difficulties. They are able to accept support offered by others as well as ask for it when they are experiencing problems. They have the confidence to ask others how to solve the solution. Other people will also ask them to how to solve the solution. So this builds communication skills, confidence, and also social awareness, which are essential for both language development and also forming positive relationships. So according to the SKB Year 3, which is the picture right next to it, this ignites with the idea that students who build strong interpersonal relationships can manage challenges better, since effectively communication helps them seek support, share ideas, and also express their needs clearly. So based on the objective, because by the end of year 6, they will learn about communicate with peers and adults confidently. This is very crucial for them because if they don't have the ability to communicate with one another, it will be difficult for them to move forward. It can also help them to reach and comprehend a range of English texts for information and enjoyment. It could also use appropriate language, styles, and forms to write for different purposes through a variety of media, such as Instagram and more. So the examples of interpersonal context will be from the Year 2 textbook, Unit 2, Every Day. So this is a topic about different types of job interviews, such as their occupation and their job. So based on this picture, we could tell there are three types of job. The first one will be firefighter, the second one will be a doctor of the third one will be a lifeguard at the beach. So how does this topic relevant to interpersonal context for young English learners? So the first one will be meaningful use of English. So children see how language connects to real life purpose, such as saving people and fixing thieves, which makes learning relevant and motivating. So the first one will be firefighters will be about saving people and also animals. So it will relate them to how a firefighter works in real life. Like a doctor for thieves, it will help them that I'll fix people teeth, which relevant to how do they think of nurses for teeth. The second one will be culture and social awareness. So it shows job that helps the community, building values like respect, empathy, and also cooperation while learning English. So this will help them to understand those are important people in real life because it helps the community by showing respect and also responsibilities to one another, which helping them to understand that they need to be respect for this kind of occasion and more. So based on the context standard and also learning standard, it is about communicating simple information intelligibly, which find out information from others, find out about describe basic everyday routine. So based on this, we can see that interview by Dave Gordon. What do you do, Dave? I'm a firefighter. It is about interviewing them, ask describing them what are their daily routine. Like for example, Dave Gordon daily routines are save people and animals. For Jill Hudson, which is a doctor for teeth, her job is to fix other people's teeth. As for George Parker, which is a lifeguard at the beach, he said that his occupation is to save people. So from this point, we can understand that it is about find out about and describe basic daily routine. Now I will pass it to Shahira to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Karjit, for that explanation. Now, I will continue with the second example, which focuses on cultural context. This example is taken from the Year 5 textbook, Unit 2, Days. The topic here is about a celebration, specifically the Notting Hill Carnival in London. So basically, this carnival reflects Caribbean culture and it highlights cultural practices such as Caribbean music, food, and costumes. These cultural elements are important because they represent identity and traditions being celebrated by the community. So, this lesson does not only teach English language skills, but it also allows pupils to learn about the multicultural society in London, which promotes respect for other cultures. This is the first activity from the same unit. So what it teaches? First, meaning and use of key vocabulary. In this lesson, pupils start with the key vocabulary, which are celebration, parade, and costume. Second, sentence building when describing a photo, because in the activity, pupils required to check the meanings of the words and then use them to describe a photo. For example, a pupil might look at a picture of any carnival and say there is a parade in the street. People are wearing colorful costumes and it is a big celebration. So that is sentence building skills. So by practicing in this way, pupils are not only memorizing vocabulary, but they are actively using it in sentences. The benefit here is that pupils can expand their vocabulary related to culture and traditions. At the same time, they can practice speaking and writing because these descriptive words help them give more detail in their sentences. Next, this is the second activity from the same unit. The activity gives pupils sentence frames they can use when describing cultural events. For example, they learn phrases like there's a celebration called, and then people celebrate by, and then it's a lot of fun, dancing, music. So these frames act as a guide for speaking and writing. The benefits for pupils is that their speaking becomes more fluent and natural because they don't have to struggle to think of how to start their sentences. Instead, they have already made phrases that can support them. Over time, these frames help to boost their confidence because pupils know they can describe cultural events step by step. For example, if they want to talk about Chinese New Year, they can use the frame there's a celebration called Chinese New Year. People celebrate by visiting family, giving ang pao, and enjoying traditional food. It's a lot of fun. So this is another important learning point in this unit, which is the correct use of the word also. pupils learn about word order and how also can change position in a sentence. For example, we also have a family meal and we have also a family meal, which sounds awkward and wrong. So, the lesson helps pupils to understand which structure is grammatically correct. And the benefit is that pupils can improve their grammar accuracy in both writing and speaking. Their sentences can become richer and more connected, and they are less likely to make common mistakes. Now, let's move on to the interpersonal context. This example comes from the Year 5 textbook, Unit 3, Wildlife. The activity shows a conversation between a girl named Lottie and her dad. The focus is on asking for permission, which is a very common interaction in daily life. For example, children often ask their parents or teachers things like, "Can I go out?" or "Is it okay if I borrow this?" So, this lesson directly teaches real-life communication skills. So, this is the first activity from the unit. In this lesson, pupils learn functional phrases such as, "Is it okay if blah blah blah?" and "Can I blah blah blah?" and then, "Yes, of course you can." They also practice turn-taking in dialogue, which means not only asking questions, but also answering and negotiating. For example, Lottie asked her dad, "Dad, can I use your computer?" And the dad answered, "No, I'm afraid you can't because I need it now, but you can use it later." The benefit for pupils is that it builds their confidence in real life interactions and teaches them how to communicate politely and encourage quick thinking when role playing with a partner. This is the second activity from the unit. What makes this activity even more valuable is that it doesn't stop with memorizing a dialogue, but pupils are encouraged to be creative and make their own dialogues using the functional language. For example, instead of just copying Lottie and her dad conversation, pupils could role play, "Is it okay if I sit here? Can I play football with you?" And "Yes, of course you can." This allows them to practice the same structure in different real-life situations. And for the benefit is that pupils develop spontaneous speaking skills and they also practice problem solving in conversation. If their partner gives an unexpected answer, they must think quickly and respond naturally. Finally, let's connect this to the DSKP curriculum for Year 5. So, the content standard here is 2.1, which is communicate simple information intelligibly, and the specific learning standard address is 2.1.3, which is ask for, give, and respond to simple advice. This shows that the interpersonal context activities are aligned with the curriculum requirements, while at the same time giving pupils the chance to practice English in authentic everyday situation. So, to summarize my section, the cultural context develops pupils' vocabulary, sentence building, and grammar when talking about cultural traditions. And for the interpersonal context, it builds pupils' fluency, confidence, and creativity in real-life conversation, such as asking for permission. So together, both contexts show how English lessons can be meaningful, practical, and connected to real-world use. With that, I will now pass on to Sophia, who will continue with the next part of our presentation.
Thank you, Shahira and Karjit, for the explanation. And now I'm Sophea, and I'm going to talk about the comparison of cultural context in Year 3 versus Year 5. What Karjit has explained is the Year 3 textbook, Unit 8, which talk about New York in the 1900s versus modern days. That topic focused on historical and global cultural comparison, New York in 1900s versus now, while Shahira talked about Year 5 textbook, which is Unit 2, Carnival in London. That topic is focusing on celebration of cultural identity, which is Caribbean Carnival in London. Next, the cultural exposure. For Year 3, it introduces learners to life in a Western global cities, like cinemas, theaters, and lifestyle, while in the Year 5 textbook, it highlights cultural practices like music, food, traditions, and it is tied to a cultural festival. For the learning approach, in Year 3 textbook, it uses pictures to support comprehension, and the activities are tied language learning, like the students will learn past tense to cultural comparisons, and it also encourages pupils to relate history to their local context, like imagining their own town in the 1900s, while in the Year 5 textbook, it focuses more on text-based exercises without many pictures, and it also teaches the student vocabulary and grammar directly through cultural examples, and it encourages description of events and sentence structure practice. Next, I'm going to talk about the activities and exercises. In Year 3 textbook, exercise 1 and 3 talk about explore New York in the past, which is they are talking about global context, and they're also giving past tense practice. While in exercise 4, it connects global context with personal or local sharing. Like students can reflect on their own town's past. While in Year 5 textbook, in exercise 1, they are more focused on vocabulary building through photo description. And exercise 3 is focusing on speaking or writing frames for describing events. And lastly, exercise 4 is grammar focus, which is they are giving students activities word order with also. And for the skills integration, in Year 5, it talks about language learning is contextualized in culture and history. And it also encourages critical thinking, like it will make students think and compare global and local. While in the Year 5 textbook, the skills that are integrate are language learning is scaffolded with functional frames, and it also emphasizes on accuracy and fluency in speaking or writing about culture. And moving on, I'm going to talk about the cultural context tab. In the Year 3 textbook, it is broader worldview. Pupils learn about global history beyond Malaysia, and with that, they will know that other countries exist too. And it also encourages them to make historical, cultural connections. But in the Year 5 textbook, it's narrower but deeper focus. Pupils learn about specific cultural practices and how to express them in English. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the pedagogical support. For the Year 3 textbook, it relies heavily on visuals or pictures to aid young learners' understanding. But in the Year 5 textbook, it has minimal visuals and is more language-focused tasks. Because we are assuming pupils are older and can handle text-based input. In short, Year 3 emphasizes pictures and history to make a cultural comparison to broaden worldview, while Year 5 emphasizes language accuracy and vocabulary expansion using cultural celebration as context. Now, I'm going to talk about the comparison of interpersonal context in Year 3 versus Year 5. For Year 3 textbook, Karjit chose the topic 2, which is everyday, and for Year 5, Shahira chose the Unit 3, topic 3, which is wildlife. Topic 2 focuses on jobs and occupations, as example dentist, firefighter, and mechanic, while topic wildlife focuses on family dialogue about asking permissions and making requests. For the contextual learning, Year 3 is language tied to real-life purposes like helping the community or our daily routines. And it also promotes cultural and social awareness through exposure to jobs that serve society. For Year 5, it is more language focused on functional phrases for everyday conversations. And models are turn-taking, politeness, and negotiation in real-life interactions. For values and social skills, students can build respect, empathy, and cooperation through learning about community helpers. And it also shows pupils how jobs contribute to society. For the Year 5 textbooks, students can build confidence and fluency in polite communication. And it encourages creativity and problem solving in conversations. The DSKP content standard that we chose is communicate simple information intelligibly. This applies to both textbooks. And the focus for Year 3 is to find out simple information from others, while for the Year 5 is to communicate simple information clearly. And for the DSKP learning standard, for Year 3, it is to find out about and describe basic everyday routines. And for Year 5, it is to ask for, give, and respond to simple advice. Moving on, I'm going to talk about the activities and exercise. For Year 3, pupils need to identify jobs and describe what people do. And the use of English becomes meaningful because it connects to real community roles. And its sharing daily routines help practice basic communication. For Year 5 textbook, the exercise introduced functional phrases like can I, is it okay, and the role plays also encourage turn-taking and creative dialogue building, and it also helped pupils practice or giving or responding to advice. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the interpersonal development. For Year 3, it focused on information gathering, like asking about jobs, routine, and the interaction is simple and concrete, and it is very, very suitable for young learners. But for the Year 5, the interaction is more abstract, flexible, and creative, as it's more suitable for older learners. In short, Year 3 interpersonal context is basic, concrete. It is value-driven, like jobs, routine, and empathy, while for Year 5, it is functional creative. It is to help them in fluency-driven, like requests, advice, and negotiation. So for the conclusion, what I can conclude from our explanation just now, the Year 3 and Year 5 English textbooks both integrate cultural and interpersonal context, but they do so in ways that reflect the developmental stages and language needs of the learners. In Year 3, the emphasis is on visual support, concrete examples, and value-based learning. Pupils are introduced to global cultures like New York in the 1900s and local routines such as community jobs, which make language use meaningful and tied to real-life experiences. The focus is on broadening worldview, building empathy, and developing basic communication skills through simple information exchange. In contrast, Year 5 shifts towards language accuracy, functional use, and creative expression. The cultural context highlights specific celebrations like the Caribbean Carnival with activities designed to expand vocabulary, improve grammar, and encourage fluent descriptions. Interpersonal contexts emphasize functional phrases, negotiation, and dialogue creation, which helps pupils build confidence in real-life interactions. Here, culture is a theme to enrich language, while communication tasks aim to foster fluency, problem-solving, and polite expressions. Overall, the progression from year 3 to year 5 shows a very clear developmental pathway, which is from concrete value-driven learning with strong visual scaffolding towards abstract functional communication with greater independence. This reflects how the textbooks are designed to gradually prepare pupils for more complex cultural understanding and interpersonal competence as they grow older. That is all from us. Thank you.